So welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what really drives them forwards. And this morning, I'm delighted that we have Paul McLaren, who's the Managing Director at YDL. So firstly, Paul, thank you for coming on board. And if you'd like to introduce yourself and YDL and how you help people, that would be great.
Perfect. Yeah, my name's Paul McLaren. I'm the Managing Director of YDL based in Yorkshire. We've got 3 depots, Newton Aycliffe, Sherburn and Elmet and Barton Hill. We're the largest independent parcel and pallet carrier in North Yorkshire.
Wow. That's fantastic. Fantastic. So I'm looking forward to learning more about how we got there. But if you could kind of maybe just talk a little bit about yourself, what your background and how you got into business and why this particular one.
Yeah, well, it all started when I was in the Territorial Army and I got my Class 1 licence.
Yep.
At the age of 23. I then joined YDL at the age of 25 as a Class 1 driver doing day trunking. Used to go from York, Manchester, Liverpool, Seaham.
Yep.
After a few years of driving, I expressed an interest in learning the routing, the planning, and some of the management elements of the job. And at the age of 28, I became the depot manager, and the rest is history. Wow,
wowzers! So all the way through the process. There's not many people I meet that go through that journey. I know. I met the MD of a precision engineering company in Leeds. Who literally started as an apprentice. Yeah. And got all the way through. It's wonderful. So you've seen the whole journey of every aspect of the business. Yeah,
that's the one good thing with our business YDL is we promote within, and like I say, I started as a driver, and 25 years later I'm here as a managing director of the business.
Brilliant. So when you were growing up, is this the sort of thing you would foresee yourself doing, or did you have other plans?
When I was growing up, I always had an interest in vehicles and driving. And I knew I wanted to be some kind of driver, but I think my dream was probably to be a rally driver at the time when I was a young lad.
Yeah, I was brought up in North Wales. We had lots of rallies going around our place on a regular basis. It's a lot of my friends had that same dream too.
Yeah.
So looking at obviously you've progressed your career, but so personally and as an organisation, what are some of the biggest challenges you've had to overcome? Would you say?
I've got to say I'm lucky enough that 25 years in the business have served me well, with a lot more positives than negatives. Right. I would say in the early days when the company was in its infancy, the challenges were trying to grow the brand.
Yep.
Then more recently, COVID-19, the issues that brought the industry, the demand on service grew, but you couldn't get drivers or vehicles. And literally after that, the driver shortage followed very closely.
Yep.
The growth was a real positive, which in turn led to us opening up more depots, which had its own challenges. But I'd like to say that looking back now, they were all pretty positive.
Great. So have you opened up all the depots as MD?
Yes.
Because one thing I find working with businesses is the first one, the first new one, the second one, let's say, is the hardest, because it's like you obviously can't be 2 places at once, and it's quite a different thing. How did that work for you?
It was challenging. Yeah, like you say, I think I spent a lot of time out from home, bedding the new depot in. But we were quite lucky that we had the staff that could step up and do the job. Yeah.
Brilliant. And so what would you say are some of the biggest learnings you've had about business as you've gone through your career?
I'd say the biggest learning in business is to surround yourself with quality, experienced people.
Brilliant.
In business, and I think in life, the biggest learning in life is to put your family first.
Yeah, great, and that in itself can be a bit of a challenge when we're up to our neck in muck and bullets.
Yeah, especially in this industry, which is not a 9 till 5.
I do and have worked with 1 or 2 logistics businesses, and I know how challenging that is, because if something doesn't arrive or something doesn't get picked up, it is, that's a challenge that we need to address. I totally understand. And you probably, where we're a coaching organisation, I'm keen to know who the best coaches you've had whether in business, sport, or life?
I would have to say that the best person I've had is probably our founder and CEO, David Lawson. He mentored me. He took me on as a Class 1 driver 25 years ago. And he mentored me through all the aspects of the business, throughout the journey with the company, and gave me the tools and trust to be in the position I am now.
Brilliant. That must be wonderful to have that.
Yeah, it is very, very fortunate to have somebody like that. And it's what I was saying earlier about getting the right people around you.
Yeah. That must be. And I guess with these, all the changes we've seen in the last few years, it would have been great to have had someone you could talk things through with.
Yes.
Because we won't have seen these challenges. I mean, a global pandemic we've never seen. Brexit in itself, we've been into Europe, but we're not come out of Europe, and obviously now the war in Russia. I guess it's having such a. I didn't realise how much that would have an effect on local businesses, but from supplies, well, primarily from supplies, but also a number of other things, whether it's supplies from Ukraine or Russia. It's been quite challenging for many businesses, I think.
Yeah, very challenging. Yeah.
So, as you've grown your career, is there any sort of quotes or sayings that you picked up that you fall back on, or you like, or that you use a lot?
Yeah, there's actually a couple. I always use "there's no problems, only solutions."
Great.
And I also like the "think out of the box."
Yeah.
I think these are both good ethoses to have in our business. There's so many variables in the road transport industry, and continued problem solving is very important.
Yeah.
To keep customers, networks, and staff happy.
I can imagine. I mean, having a tiny insight into the sort of things that you guys do, it must be. You must always have to have a solution to every, as you say, a solution to every problem.
Yes.
And it's not always easy or obvious, isn't it? Okay.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
How do you imagine? And what would you say you've learned about yourself as you developed your career in your journey?
I think the biggest thing is learning that you can't be a master of everything, and it is important to have key staff around you.
Yeah.
Whose strengths complement your weaknesses.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's quite a wise learning, that one. I think too many people feel they've got to be the master of everything.
Yeah.
And what comes into that also is the idea of becoming indispensable, and the challenges. And we often say to people in businesses, our job is to become dispensable, recruit our successors so we can move to the next level. Because without that, we're not going to get growth. But needing or feeling a need to be as good, if not better, than everyone else around me is a challenging one for many people. Did you struggle with that, or is that something that came naturally to you?
I think in the early days, it was a struggle. It was you have to do everything yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it was Dave that said, you've got to surround yourself with these people and bring these people into the industry and the business that's going to make your job easier. And it took a while to learn that, but yes, definitely learned that over the time.
Yeah, I think it's Brian Tracy that talks about the most effective organisations are the ones where most people spend most of their time doing the three things they really love and they're really good at. And yet that's quite counterintuitive to the idea of I've got to do all this stuff I don't really enjoy. But if we just all, and I think our job as leaders, if we can move people in those positions where they're just energized in what they do, they love it, they're great at it, and put the right people. I think again, was talking about the right people on the bus, but the right people in the right seats on the bus. Get that right, and everything just flows. Just
makes it so easy. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Easier.
Brilliant. So, I mean, clearly you will have gone through many challenges over the last few years, and I obviously saw historically. But looking forward, what's the future look like for you and YDL, and as you move forward, and what challenges may you face, if any?
I think the future looks positive for the transport industry. Consumer habits have changed.
Yes.
More and more people shopping online, fulfillment centres, processing more customers' orders. The main challenge will be introducing the next generation.
Yeah.
And even the following generation after that, trying to get them into the industry, into the transport industry. Like you say, getting a little bit old, I'm 50. So, you know, you've got to start looking, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, how is transport as a career for younger people? I mean, different industries seem to have different attractions, or is it something that you're seeing less people wanting to come into, or?
I think there's a less demand on the driving side of it. I think because it's not a young people aren't really getting involved with it at this moment in time.
Yeah.
So you've seen a change over the last 6 to 8 months. So realistically, it's just how do we push this industry forward to make it appealing to the younger generation?
I think it's a massive challenge for many industries that are right now. It's making ourselves there is across industries just a shortage of people, or seems to be, and therefore I guess we're not even just competing against people that within our industry. It's almost to attract people from other industries maybe, and to change roles and disciplines, and it can be quite difficult. But clearly, you know, with what's happened with the pandemic, you know, transport must have, as you said, the demand has just gone higher and higher.
Definitely.
So, keen to know just a couple of things. One is, what would you say to anyone that was thinking of going into business right now, Paul?
Anybody, this kind of business, or just any business? Sorry.
Well, either, I guess, but business in general. But yeah, what are the sort of maybe some of the things that you'd suggest people look out for, or make sure they start?
I think I would advise anyone to study the industry that they want to go into.
Right.
Try and find themselves a good mentor, and lots of financial planning is the 3 things I'd probably say.
Brilliant. Yeah, makes massive sense. I think it's the planning. Yeah, it's a sort of an obvious thing to do, but so few people do it. It's like we just, I often meet businesses that are starting up and stuff, and it's almost like a sheer will. It's going to work, and I know it's going to work. Well, okay, let's just take a step back for a second and think about it. Maybe put a couple of things in place, but the enthusiasm for someone starting a business is infectious, but B can be. There's certainly a great case of people that just with their sheer force of will have made things happen when most people haven't.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you started again in your career, is there anything you, looking back, you do differently?
I think in the early days, I'd probably focus more on identifying the right staff within the company.
Yeah.
We have a great team now since we made this a priority a few years back, with good future prospects. While I wouldn't change the journey or the current team, I wish I'd had the same team 20 years ago that I have now. Oh, cool. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. What a great compliment to your team and its leader. Fantastic. Great thing to say. And finally, what if you could go back in time and do so, what would be the best advice you could give an 18-year-old you?
Stop dreaming about being a rally driver. Get your Class 1 license and move into the transport industry sooner.
Brilliant. Oh, fantastic. Well, clearly you're you're an absolute raving fan of what you do, and I can see that you love it. And I'd be great maybe to circle back in 12 months or so and just see what the next stage is. Do you have any more growth plans sort of outlined that you can share with us?
We've got some things in the pipeline, but can't really share them at this moment in time. So give us a call in 12 months' time, because there'll be probably an update. It
would be great to find out, because as I said before we started the interview, it's great to highlight how many great and successful businesses we have right on the doorstep, and clearly you guys are one of those. So thank you so much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.